Books, books. I like books. I'm gonna read them all.
Hi readers, Chris here. Welcome to my channel where I review fantasy, Stephen King, all sorts of books, and today I'm talking about my top 10 most anticipated book releases for April 2024. Yes, I'm a little late on this video, but better late than never, right? Before I jump in, a big thank you again to everyone who entered in my giveaway. A winner will be announced later this week, depending on when you're watching this, so good luck to everyone. So April looks like it's going to be a pretty exciting month. I was actually able to find 10 books that I am excited about this month. I do say a lot of them are romantic-y type books, because I feel like every freaking fantasy book these days has to have a romance in it, which I find highly annoying, but I'm going to talk about some of these books anyway. Quick reminder, of course, these are not all the books that are coming out in April. These are just the ones that I am most excited about, and they're not in any sort of order other than by publication date. So let's jump in for my number one pick of the month, Heart Still Beating by Brooke Archer. Now, this is a debut book from this author, but it sounds like it could be a really good debut. So, according to Amazon, this book is described as gripping, romantic, and impossible to put down. This dark and immersive post-apocalyptic debut novel is about two teen girls who loved each other before the end of the world, and before one of them became infected with the virus that turned her into a monster. Ooh. It also says that it's perfect for the fans of The Last of Us, which I've really been enjoying that show on HBO, so maybe I would enjoy this book. So the plot of this book is 17-year-old Mara is dead, mostly, infected with a virus that brought the dead back to life and the world to its knees. She wakes up in a facility to learn a treatment for the disease has been found. No longer a tick, Mara is placed in an experimental resettlement program, but her recovery is complicated by her destination. She's sent to live with the best friend she hasn't seen since the world ended, and since her first and only kiss. 17-year-old Rory is alive, barely. With impaired mobility from an injury and a dead sister, Rory's nightmares are just as monstrous as the ticks that turned her former best friend. Even after the island, one of a handful of surviving communities, rebuilds itself, Corey is prepared for the ticks to return at any time. She never expected them to come in the form of the only girl she's ever loved. As the girls struggle with their past and the people they've become, and with the island's fragile peace in the balance, Rory and Mara must lean on each other to survive or risk losing the girl they love all over again. So I love that this sounds like a zombie love story, basically. I don't know if anyone's ever read Warm Bodies, but it kind of gives me that sort of vibe. So I think this is a really cool premise and a really cool idea. So if it sounds cool to you, Heart Still Beating will be available on April 2nd. My second pick for the month is Your Blood, My Bones by Kelly Andrew. Now, she also wrote The Whispering Dark, which I have not read, but I do have a copy. I've heard really good things about it, so I'm trying to get to it this year. Hopefully before this one, although this one sounds really good too. And this one is described as a seductively twisted romance about loyalty, fate, and the lengths we go to hide the darkest parts of ourselves, and the people who love those parts most of all. See what I mean? All these stories are centered around a romance, but anyway. This plot says, Wyatt Westlock has one plan for the farmhouse she's just inherited, to burn it to the ground. But during her final walkthrough of her childhood home, she makes a shocking discovery in the basement. Peter, the boy she once considered her best friend, strung up in chains and left for dead. Ooh, that sounds dark. Unbeknownst to Wyatt, Peter has suffered hundreds of ritualistic deaths on her family's property. Semi-immortal, Peter never remains dead for long, but he can't really live either. Not while he's bound to the farm, locked in a cycle of grisly deaths and painful rebirths. There's only one way for him to break free. He needs to end the Westlock line. He needs to kill Wyatt. With Wyatt's parents gone, the spells protecting the property have begun to unravel, and dark ancient forces gather in the nearby forest. The only way for Wyatt to repair the wards is to work with Peter, the one person who knows how to harness her volatile magic. But how can she trust a boy who's sworn an oath to destroy her? When the past turns up to haunt them in unexpected ways, they're forced to rely on one another to survive, or else tear each other apart. Ooh. So, yeah, that definitely sounds like a seductively twisted romance. Well, I don't know about the seductive part, but it definitely sounds like a twisted romance, and I think fits perfectly with this cover. So, some people are fans of twisted romance. For me, it really depends on the story. So I am excited to give this one a try, though. If you're excited to give this one a try, Your Blood, My Bones will be available on April 2nd. Who is scratching at the door making all that noise? Me and Roscoe's third pick for the month is Darker by 4 by June C.L. Tan, and I have read something by her before. She wrote Jade Fire Gold, I believe it's called, and I liked that one, but I also wasn't like super impressed or blown away. But this one sounds a little bit more my speed, because this is described as Shadowhunter Chronicles meets Chinese diaspora folklore. So that sounds pretty cool. And I'm gonna let Roscoe help me read the plot of this one. A vengeful girl, a hollow boy, a missing god. Rory has one goal in mind, honing her magic to avenge her mother's death. Urine is the black sheep of an illustrious family. The world would be at his feet had he been born with magic. Makiia is a reaper, serving the fourth king of hell. When his master disappears, the underworld begins to crumble, and the human world will be next if the king is not found. When an accident causes Ruby's power to transfer to Urine, everything turns upside down. Without her magic, Ruby has no tool for vengeance. With it, Urine finally feels like he belongs. That is, until Ruby discovers she might hold the key to the missing death god and strikes a dangerous bargain with another king. As darkness takes over, the three paths intersect in the shadows, and the three lives bound by fate must rise against destiny before the barrier between worlds falls and all hell breaks loose, literally. Perfect for fans of this savage song and Only a Monster, Darker by 4 will pull readers into a world of love and desperation and revenge, a world where every deal has a catch, no secret stays buried, and no one is exactly who they say they are. Are you who you say you are? Yes, you're a little lover boy, and that's exactly who you are. Thanks for your help, Roscoe. Okay, so I love that this is described as Shadowhunter Chronicles meets Chinese folklore. I'm a huge fan of the Shadowhunter Chronicles, so anything that's inspired by that but also has like a new cultural twist on it, I think sounds really exciting to me. So if that sounds exciting to you, Darker by 4 will be available on April 2nd. My fourth pick for the month is probably the one that I am personally most excited for, and that's going to be The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I've become a huge Leigh Bardugo fan. The original Shadow and Bone trilogy I think is just okay, but I love her Six of Crows duology. I loved Ninth House and Hellbent. So this is another adult fantasy by her, and I am super excited about this one. So the plot of this one says, in a shabby house on a shabby street in the new capital of Madrid, Luisa Cotado uses scrapes of magic to get through her day of endless toil as a scullion. But when her scheming mistress discovers the lump of a servant cowering in the kitchen is actually hiding a talent for little miracles, she demands Luisa use those gifts to improve the family's social position. What begins as simple amusement for the nobility takes a perilous turn when Luisa garners the notice of Antonio Perez, the disgraced secretary to Spain's king. Still reeling for the defeat of his armada, the king is desperate for any advantage in the war against England's heretic queen, and Perez will stop at nothing to regain the king's favor. Determined to seize this one chance to better her fortunes, Luisa plunges into a world of seers and alchemists, holy men and hucksters, where the lines between magic, science, and fraud are never certain. But as her notoriety grows, so does the danger that her Jewish blood will doom her to the Inquisition's wrath. She will have to use every bit of her wit and will to survive, even if it means enlisting the help of Gillian Santigal, and embittered immortal Familiar, whose own secrets could prove deadly for them both. Ooh. Okay, so when I read that plot, there's one thing that pops into my head. If anyone's familiar with Monty Python, when she said that thing about the Inquisition, all I can think in my head is, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. But this totally sounds like a serious book, so I'm sure it's not a humorous reference to the Spanish Inquisition. But yeah, everything in this book just really speaks to me. I'm super excited about this one. Definitely going to be running out to buy it. So if you want to run out to buy The Familiar, it'll be available on April 9th. My fifth pick for the month is going to be Dragonfruit by Makiia Lucier. Again, another lovely, bright, colorful cover. Love these type of covers. And this is described as a Pacific Island-inspired fantasy. And again, I've never read a Pacific Island-inspired fantasy, so I think that sounds super cool right off the bat. So this plot says, in the old tales, it is written that the egg of a sea dragon, Dragonfruit, holds within it the power to undo a person's greatest sorrow. An unwanted marriage, a painful illness, an unpaid debt, gone. But as with all things that promise the moon and the stars, and offer hope when hope has gone, the tale comes with a warning. Every wish demands a price. Hana Leigh of Tamarind is the cherished daughter of an old island family. But when her father steals a sea dragon egg meant for an ailing princess, she is forced into a life of exile. In the years that follow, Hana Leigh finds solace in studying the majestic sea dragons that roam the... I don't know how to pronounce this. Roam the Naminomi Sea. Ugh. Until one day, an encounter with a female dragon offers her what she desires most, a chance to return home and to right a terrible wrong. And here's another really long word. Hana Leigh. Sam is the last remaining prince of Tamarind, but he can never inherit the throne, for Tamarind is a matriarchal society. With his mother ill and his grandmother nearing the end of her reign, Sam is left with two choices, to marry or to find a cure for the sickness that has plagued his mother for 10 long years. When a childhood companion returns from exile, she brings with her something he has not felt in a very long time, hope. But Hana Leigh and Sam are not the only ones searching for the dragon fruit, and as they battle enemies both near and far, there is another danger they cannot escape, that of the dragon fruit itself. Okay, so sorry for butchering all of those names, but if I did read this one, I would definitely learn how to properly pronounce them, especially Sam's. That one is quite long. But yeah, everything about this, it calls to me. I love a fantasy that is inspired by a different culture, especially a culture that I'm not familiar with, and I'm not ashamed to say I don't know anything about Pacific Island nation culture, so I think this is a really great way to introduce it to people. So Dragonfruit sounds super fun, super cool to me. If it sounds fun to you, it'll be available on April 9th. My sixth pick for April is going to be King of Dead Things by Nevin Holness. And this says that it's perfect for fans of Legendborn, Neil Gaiman, and Leigh Bardugo. I am a fan of all of those things, so let's jump in and see what this one says. Raising the dead is easy. Living is harder. Eli doesn't know who he is or where he came from. 3 years ago, he was found by his now best friends, Sunny and Max, who gave him a home in a magical sanctuary doubling as a Caribbean restaurant. What Eli does know is that he can heal a wound with just a touch, and pluck magic from a soul like a petal from a flower. There is nothing he wouldn't do to survive and keep his new family together. Malcolm would do anything to forget where he comes from. Desperate to escape his estranged father's shadow and plagued with an inherited death magic he doesn't fully understand, Malcolm has just one priority: save his mother no matter the cost. Malcolm and Eli's paths collide when Eli and his friends are sent to track down the fang of the leopard god, Ozebo, a deadly weapon that can eat magic. In a job filled with enigmatic 9 nights and Caribbean legends, the teens must face their own demons as they race through the magical underbelly of London to retrieve the Fang before an ancient and malevolent power comes back to life. Ooh. Okay, so the reason that this one calls to me, other than the fact that I'm a fan of Legend-born Neil Gaiman and Leigh Bardugo, is that this is based, or supposed to be based, in Afro-Caribbean folklore. Now, I already tried to give one Caribbean folklore fantasy a try, which is Steeped in Gold. That one did not work out so well, so I'm really hoping that maybe this one will work out for me. So if you think this one might work out for you, King of Dead Things will be available on April 16th. My 7th pick for April is going to be Song of the Six Realms by Judy L. Lin, and I basically picked this one for the cover because it's so pretty. It is so pretty. And if you recognize this author's name, she also wrote A Magic Steeped in Poison, I believe it's called. I'll put its picture up here. Yeah, all her books have pretty covers. This one is no different, but it also sounds pretty good. So according to Amazon, the plot of this book says, Zoo, a talented young musician, has no past and probably no future. Orphaned at a young age, her kindly poet uncle took her in and arranged for an apprenticeship at one of the most esteemed entertainment houses in the kingdom. She doesn't remember much before entering the House of Flowing Water, and when her uncle is suddenly killed in a bandit attack, she is devastated to lose her last connection to a life outside of her indenture contract. With no family and no patron, Zoo is facing the possibility of a lifetime of servitude, playing the kin for nobles that praise her talent with one breath and sneer at her lowly social status with the next. Then, one night, she is unexpectedly called to the garden to put on a private performance for the enigmatic Duke Meng. For a young man of nobility, he is strangely kind and awkward and surprises Zoo further with an irresistible offer. Serve as a musician in residence at his manor for 1 year, and he'll set her free of her indenture. But the Duke's motives become increasingly more suspect as he and Zoo barely survive an attack by a nightmarish monster. And when he whisks her away to his estate, she discovers he's not just some country noble. He's the Duke of Dreams, one of the divine rulers of the celestial realm. There, she learns the 6 realms are on the brink of disaster, and incursions by demonic beasts are growing more frequent. The Duke needs Zoo's help to unlock memories from her past that could hold the answers to how to stop the impending war. But first, Zoo will need to survive being the target of every monster and deity in the 6 realms. Ooh. Okay, so this definitely is giving me like a Chosen One vibe type here. I hope her character, Zoo's character, is not one of those like, oh, I'm not special, but actually I'm the most special. As long as it's not like that, I think, again, this has the potential to be something really fun. And even if it is that, like, if it's well written, you know, it's well written. So, hopefully it'll be well written. If you want to find out, Song of the 6 Realms will be available on April 23rd. My 8th pick for the month is going to be Off With Their Heads by Zoe Hana Mikuta. Yeah, if you can't tell from the title, this is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, but not just any Alice in Wonderland retelling. It is a Korean-inspired Alice in Wonderland retelling. So this blurb says, in a world where saints are monsters and Wonderland is the dark forest where they lurk, it's been 5 years since young witches and lovers, Carol Rabbit and Ikadora Alice Sickle, were both sentenced to that forest for a crime they didn't commit. And 4 years since they shattered one another's hearts, each willing to sacrifice the other for a chance at freedom. Now, Caro is a successful royal saint harvester, don't know what that means, living the high life in the glittering capital and pretending not to know of the twisted monster experiments that her beloved Red Queen hides deep in the bowels of the palace. But for Ika, the memory of Caro's betrayal has hardened her from timid girl to ruthless hunter. A hunter who will stop at nothing to exact her vengeance on Caro, on the Queen, on the throne itself. But there's a secret about the saints the Queen's been guarding, and a volatile magic at play even more dangerous to Ika and Caro than they are to each other. Lush, terrifying, and uncanny, Zoe Hana Mikuta, author of Gear Breakers and God Slayers, takes a delicate knife straight through the heart of this beloved surrealist fairy tale. Love that. A knife straight through the heart. Very nice words to whoever wrote this blurb. I've always been a fan of Alice in Wonderland ever since I was a wee little girl. Yes, it is a bit surreal and funky. The Disney animated movie, absolutely love. And so, yeah, the fact that this is a Korean-inspired retelling, I think is super cool. I wonder, it sounds like it has the potential to be quite dark. And again, I do love me a dark fairy tale. So the cover makes it seem not so dark because it's very brightly colored, but I hope it's dark. I hope it's dark. So if you want to find out how dark it is, Off With Their Heads will be available on April 23rd. My 9th pick for the month is going to be The Vanishing Station by Anna Ellickson. This, again, is another YA fantasy because, you know, I love me a good YA fantasy, even though I do complain about them a lot. So this blurb says, 18-year-old Filipino-American Ruby Santos has been unmoored since her mother's death. She can't apply to art school like she's always dreamed, and she and her father have had to move into the basement of their home and rent out the top floor while they work to pay back her mother's hospital bills. Then, Ruby finds out her father has been living a secret life as a delivery person for a magical underworld. He jumps train lines to help deliver packages for a powerful family. Recently, he's fallen behind on his deliveries and deeper into alcoholism, and if his debts aren't satisfied, they're going to take her mother's house. In an effort to protect her father and save all that remains of her mother, Ruby volunteers to take over her dad's station and start jumping train lines. But this is no ordinary job. Ruby soon realizes that the trains are much more than doors to romance and adventure. They're also doors to trafficking illicit goods and fierce rivalries. As she becomes more entangled with the magical underworld and the mysterious boy who's helped her to learn magic, she realizes too late that she may be in over her head. Can she free her father and save her mother's house? Or has she only managed to get herself pulled into the dangerous web her father was trapped in? Dun, dun, dun. So yeah, this sounds like a really interesting story to me. Again, I love the fact that unlike some of the other books I've talked about in this video, I feel like this one is much more grounded. It takes place in the real world in San Francisco, and like there's real people that are dealing with real problems, money issues, alcoholism. I like that kind of like grounded story sometimes. And so that's why this one called to me. If this one calls to you, The Vanishing Station will be available on April 30th. And finally, that brings me to number 10, my 10th pick for April, A Magical Girl Retires by Park Seolyeon. And as a self-proclaimed huge fan of Sailor Moon, Magical Girl anime, all of that stuff in my younger years, as soon as I saw the title of this one, I knew it was going to end up on my list. If you don't know anything about Magical Girl anime or manga, definitely go look it up, but I will just tell you what this book is about right now. 29, depressed and drowning in credit card debt after losing her job during the pandemic, a millennial woman decides to end her troubles by jumping off Seoul's Mapo Bridge. But her suicide attempt is interrupted by a girl dressed all in white, her guardian angel. Roa is a clairvoyant magical girl on a mission to find the greatest magical girl of all time, and our protagonist just may be that someone special. But the young woman's initial excitement turns to frustration when she learns being a magical girl in real life is much different than how it's portrayed in stories. It isn't just destiny, it's work. Magical girls go to job fairs, join trade unions, attend classes, and for this magical girl, there are no special powers and no great perks. And despite being magical, she still battles with low self-esteem. Her magic wand is a credit card, which she must use to defeat a terrifying threat that isn't a monster or an intergalactic war. It's global climate change, because magical girls need to think about sustainability too. Park Seolyeon reimagines classical fantasy tropes in a novel that explores real-world challenges that are both deeply personal and universal. The search for meaning and the desire to do good in a world that feels like it's ending. A fun, fast-paced, and enchanting narrative that sparkles thanks to award-nominated translator Anton Hur. A Magical Girl with Tires reminds us that we are all magical girls, that fighting evil by moonlight and winning love by daylight can be anyone's game. And again, if you're not familiar with the Sailor Moon theme song, go look it up because that's the line from the song. Fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight. I love, again, that this takes place in the real world. We have a real magical girl. I love that they say her magic wand is her credit card. Everything about this seems absolutely amazing to me. Like, chef's kiss. Why has no one ever thought about it before? I hope it does really well. I hope it becomes a TV show, a movie one day, because I would definitely watch it. But maybe it's just me, but if A Magical Girl with Tires sounds amazing to you, it'll be available on April 30th. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 most anticipated reads for April 2024. So now I want to know from you, which books are you most excited for this month? Is it something I mentioned, something I didn't mention? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments section below. And as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel for more bookish stuff coming your way soon. All right, everyone, happy reading.